Okay, it's 4:02, so we're going to go ahead and call the Brownfield Redevelopment Authority Board meeting to order. Teresa, if you could call roll, please.
Barbara Robbins.
Present.
Samoset Yates. Paul Toney.
Here.
James Bennett. Emma Kennard. Ivy Chandler. Mary Alice Adams.
Present.
Satana Warren.
Present.
Emma Hall. So we do have a quorum.
Okay, so first thing on the agenda is to review the minutes from May 14th. If someone can make a motion to approve.
Make a motion to approve. Second.
Okay, thank you. There is currently no communications listed, so we're going to move on to public is there something that's not on here?
Yeah, I apologize. I just was going to make a quick update that we're still waiting on EPA grant announcements. Those should be coming any day. They tend to like to do them on a Friday, but as of yet, no word has been out on the release of those announcements.
So hoping for good news. Next up is public comments, and there's really not anyone here, so.
Just got here.
Do you have a comment?
I think you were waiting for me, right? Yeah, please. No,
Okay. All right, so there's no public comments, and then it says none on here for committee reports, and no one's here. So we can jump into the treasurer's report. If everyone could turn to page 7 through 9.
So on the financial reports, I just wanted to point out a couple things. So our fiscal year end is June 30th. So essentially, we've got one more month. Everything here is through May. So we're pretty much right on track. In our current balance of the Honor Credit Union, although we do have quite a bit of disbursements tonight, is $748,973.27. And our money market account is $194,577. And then our total liabilities and equity is $968,571. I did want to point out on that second page, so page 9 of your agenda, that first column shows the month of May. That second column is year to date. Again, our fiscal year starts with July 1. So we're pretty close. I took a review today of our approved budget for 2025, 2026, and we've got 1 month left, but we're essentially right on track, so that's great. We did approve applying for the EPA grant, and that wasn't originally in our budget, but it's still working out. I do just want to note that that amount is included in Fishbeck's general admin. Here is one line item, where in our budget it's separated out. And then the legal, I wanted to point out that we have requested legal services for a couple things recently. The KB Ventures loan and a reimbursement agreement. We have not received invoices for that, so a couple of these items will go up probably next month, but just wanted to state that we're essentially right on track with our budget.
We were just on 7 to 9, and the last thing he talked about was page 7. I'm sorry, page 9.
Okay, was that May?
Yes.
Do you know what was our total budget projection for?
Yes, I did print it out and bring it with me. So we anticipated tax increment capture of 280,000. Our actual was a little over 282, so we were pretty close there. Interest, 6,500. So far, we've earned a little over 3,000. Applications, we anticipated 1,000, we have 500, but we still came in, our revenues are only about $1,000 less than we projected, and I mean, I'm not anticipating more revenues next month, but it's possible. As far as our expenses, like I said, we did add in the grant. We didn't currently have that in there. Our legal support is, we're only at 325 year-to-date. We have a budget of 2,500. Some of our tax disbursements are a little bit less. Our seminars and travel, we had a $10,000 budget. We've only spent 154 to date. I know we have a forthcoming reimbursement around $33, so we're way under budget there. We're exactly right on with marketing. We had a budget of 10,000. We've spent 10,000. So some a little high, some a little low, but pretty much right on track.
So can we run the meeting in order? Commissioner Adams.
Has the taxes been released from the city for this fiscal?
Yes,
Tax
that was
season.
at 282, 398.
That was the
You
summer?
can see it on the top of page 9, and that's why we have several disbursement items on the agenda under new
Okay.
business that will be coming from those tax increments. And I also just want to mention that next month, because that'll be at our year end, you'll see a revised, our actual budget of where we came in, and you'll see a proposed budget for the next fiscal year. So that will be coming next month. I just thought it was a good time to kind of see where we were at.
Okay. The taxes that you say were released was for the summer taxes?
Summer and winter. The last couple
For
years, there's
last
been
fiscal
quite
year?
a few
For last fiscal
for
year?
2025.
Right, that's what this is.
Yes.
Okay, I thought so. Okay. That's what I needed clarity on.
Is there any other comments? Okay, so we're going to go ahead and move on to the payable section.
Oh, I don't think we had a motion yet for the financial reports.
Motion to approve.
Second.
So motion
Support.
by Adams, support by Bennett.
We'll call for the question.
Robbins? Are you in favor of supporting the May financial statements? Yes. Warren?
Yes.
Adams?
Yes.
Chandler? Yes. Kennard? Are you abstaining? Yes. Okay. Yates? Yes. Tony?
Yes.
Bennett?
Yes.
Motion carries 7 yeses, 1 abstention.
Okay, so now we're going to move on to the second part of the report, which we do separate, and that is the payables listing. Starts with page number 10.
So we have a lot of items on here. They're all standard courses of business. So the Plant Moran invoice, that's our standard, $575. This Fishbeck invoice for $14,357.77. That's actually the invoice that was presented last month. That's quite a bit larger than what we typically do in 1 month. So while I wasn't here, my understanding is the board asked for some breakdown. So if, let me keep that there, but on page, thank you. So 12 and 13 is that invoice again. You'll see on page 13, I added some breakdown of categories of what that included. So out of that $14,357.77, printing was $54.25. Expenses, mileage, and there was one lookup fee for BSNA if we needed to check property tax values. And that's only like $6 in there, the rest was mileage, but that was $273.42. Labor total is a little over $14,000, and that's broken up between the Kings Court loan agreement, about $3,200, retreat, both the prep and attendance here by Logan and I was $4,700. Regular meetings, prep and attendance, just under $2,000. Tax capture reporting, just under $2,000, and then miscellaneous admin tasks, around $2,100. There's further breakdown that includes comments for every single line item, if you want to see that. Then we have Fishbeck's invoice for May, which is $43.54. You'll see I have it broken down. All the rest are our disbursements. Most of them are for 2025 taxes. A couple of them were remaining 2024 taxes that were not dispersed. We have 2 line items that you'll see are $0. I wanted to have them on here just so we had reference later that they were assessed. So Blue Star 2, that property does not have any increment. And Blue Star 14, their disbursement is fulfilled. So we'll get to these specifics when we get to new business. So that's why I have your recommended motion to state approval pending authorization of new business. That way, if for some reason we get to new business and something doesn't get approved, we can handle it then. We can go into further discussion of these during that time.
Okay, so basically, so I'm understanding correctly, we're just going to talk about this now and then approve it later. Is that what you're suggesting for payables? Is that what you're saying?
Well, no, I'm suggesting that we make a motion to approve it now, as this is our payables agenda item. But when it comes to the disbursements, we have an opportunity later to get into those one by one if needed.
Commissioner Adams?
Madam Chair, the items that you were speaking of later, is that page 14 and 15?
No, that'll be pages 33 to 52. That's
Got
new
it.
business item 1.
So where, are we discussing anything having to do with 14 and 15?
Let me see what's
With
on
these,
14
are
and
these
15.
properties or what? I can't see them. My
Oh,
question
that's
is,
the breakdown for Fishbeck's invoice.
oh, okay.
So I
Is this
did
in
it
our
by
packet?
category on the invoice, if that was helpful. There's also every single line item, if you want to see that as well.
No, my question is, did we get this in the email?
Well, your board packet that went out
Okay,
on Monday,
okay.
yes.
Okay, so remember, I have to call on you, so thank you, Miss Ivy.
There's, I noticed that you have the disbursements here and the payables, but you don't have that one line item from the expenses of Cornerstone Building. What was that? I don't recall, there's a payment under professional services for Cornerstone Building. The other disbursements are there payable, but I don't see that.
So if you're comfortable with it, we can get into these details when we get to disbursement. It's been a challenge for me because these properties are sometimes named as former whatever, sometimes they're named as the new development, sometimes they're named by the address. So it gets confusing. When we get to the actual disbursement memos, I tried to add a lot more detail in there for ease of reference. So it has different names, addresses.
Yeah, but just the question right now, for what we're looking at here on page 10 is, it's not there. Is it not supposed to be?
I think it is there. I think it's one of these other names. So I'd have to look through the disbursement memos to figure out which one that was.
So for clarity, and so we don't get questions for the future, if anyone has a question under the first part, which says on here, admin payables total, is it fair to talk about that? Because you're saying you want to approve that now, and then the details on disbursements will come under new business. Is that fair?
Yes.
Okay, so is everyone clear? If there is a question under the first 3 points, now is the time to ask that question to the board. So there's, I'll just say it, Plant Moran invoice, Fishbeck invoice, and a second Fishbeck invoice. one is April, one is May. So that is what we are discussing at this moment, so we don't get any further confusion.
I don't know, my brain.
Don't function like everybody else's.
That's right.
I know, I heard that. Yeah.
Teresa, I'll start because I appreciate this detailed list you've given me on page 14 and 15. And I have not studied it. So I'm just going to ask you a question, and hopefully you can quickly tell me or we can refer to it. The biggest question I had last month was, so we had that 4-hour half-day retreat, and our total was $4,712, and there was not a pre-discussion, and hindsight is always 2020 because it should have been a pre-discussion on approximately what the price would be. I know myself, and I think others who had comments last month were a little surprised with this high amount. So could you quickly give an overview of some of the highlights that were really expensive, but I did not think that we would be spending about almost $5,000 for that half-day retreat.
Sure. So, well, again, the category breakdown is on page 13. But yes, the retreat was the most expensive thing. So right now, our general services contract is, everything is on time and materials. Everyone in the company has an agreed upon standard hourly rate, and everything that we do is billed by the hour. So that was the amount of effort. They're obviously having two of us here increases the cost. And Logan lives in Grand Rapids, so she had a little bit further drive than I do from Kalamazoo. But I believe we met and then drove together. I don't recall, but it's an hourly rate of exactly what we spent.
Yep, so like I see this line number, looks like item 4, if anyone wants to follow along, on page 14. So it says meal coordination and emails was 7 hours. Because meal coordination
Well, it's probably, they're kind of off a little bit of where you see the line and where you see that. So hold on just a second. Meal coordination and emails, that's 1 hour. It's right up above it. So it's got my name and then the 1 hour, so that's billed at $142.80, and then right below is the comment, meal coordination and emails.
okay, so it looked like 7, so that's
7
fine.
is for Logan's time for working on the presentation. The one right below that. So like if you see the very top line, you can see the person's name, the hours straight across, and then the comment is below, and then it follows along.
So if I'm understanding this correctly, so we have at the very top that Logan was 10.5 hours for something.
Yep.
And then he was also another 7 hours for the presentation. So it was, for that 4 hours, it was it took her 17 hours? Is that right?
Yeah, I mean, there was quite a bit of work to put all these they're technical presentations, to put them together. And then the 10.5, I believe that was her day for actually being here at the retreat. I mean, honestly, I probably spend about 20 hours a week on average for this board, which is more than any of my other clients. I think you could easily have a staff position that was full-time working for this board.
I'd like to get to that later.
Does anyone else have any comments on those three? Were you going to comment, Commissioner Adams?
I am, because we weren't expecting Ms. Logan to be added to anything that we were expecting to pay. I don't remember, and if somebody would refresh my memory on expecting to have to pay another employee besides Teresa. It was just problematic because we weren't expecting such a large amount. And as that's related to being a board member and something else that we've discussed in times past, I can't bring it up now because it has nothing to do with, but then it does. The overall initial, I just have a problem. And everybody that in Ben Harbor should, with money leaving our community. It's time that we do things differently, and I thought that we were. And let me say this, because Mr. Little made a statement. Teresa, you're good at what you do. You're professional at
Thank
what you
you.
do. You do what you do because I don't know how to. And my thing was just us finding somebody locally to keep money in our community. Because we have a lot of people that have the expertise and things that we need to just relook at things that where we can save a dollar because the city is at dire strength for finances. And we as a board, it has taken us so long to get to where we are, and I'm not gonna sit here after 27 years of my time and watch our money just totally disappear. I wanna see us doing something as a board, as an authority that counts for the people of Benton Harbor, even if it's just creating 1 or 2 jobs. Which was my hope for somebody in the community to do exactly what you're doing. Because I know your hands are full. To have to come down the highway, especially in the wintertime. I'm just,
Thank you, Commissioner Adams. Ivy, please.
I would just say that moving forward, treat me as if I don't know it. That's, because that's why we have an advisor. You know, I might want something, but have no idea of the cost involved. Right? And that's where I count on you. To let me know what you know I don't know, or even if I think I know. You know, so to advise us, especially understanding our goals to be sustainable, to, you know, help as many organizations as we can.
Teresa, please.
Appreciate those comments, and I'm definitely hearing and receiving, especially these larger ticket items, that it's helpful to understand what even an estimated budget may be in advance. You know, I will say, again, our current contract is time and materials. We had an estimated budget of $50,000 for the year. We are still on track with that budget. And I think when contract negotiations come up, let's definitely remember if we want to structure anything differently or add a little bit more detail.
So I don't think personally we weren't clear on the hourly part, because I'm crystal clear on the hourly. What I wasn't expecting was this many hours. So I want to make sure I'm clear, because I am clear on what we discussed and what we agreed to pay per hour. So it was just a matter of, you know, I'm thinking, and again, I'm not an expert in your field, but I'm just being honest. I'm thinking if I put a PowerPoint together for work, I'm thinking of how long it would probably take me. And you can't go off what it would take me because everybody's different. And to your point, it may have been more research, but I did not think it was going to take that long. So I think that was my disconnect, not the hourly rate. It was just an assumption. And I think now that we know this, if there's a vote to have another retreat, you know, we need to discuss, can you look at it on your own? I mean, did we really have to spend $5,000 to sit here when we really could have read the material? I mean, at least for me, I could have read it on my own, and then we could have saved thousands of dollars. So that's just kind of, that's just kind of how I'm thinking. So if we can get an approximate, if people say, I really want to retreat, and can we do it in 4 hours? Now we do have a baseline to go off of, but at that point, at least I was not here. I didn't have a baseline. So again, I admit the miss, because we should have definitely thought about asking how many hours of prep, and then, you know, we wouldn't be here. But to go forward, I mean, we'll have a better idea. And I do like what Miss Ivy said. If you could let us know, well, this is going to take us this is going to be 30 hours to prepare or whatever, and then we should discuss it amongst ourselves, saying, do you really have to sit here and when you can really read it yourself? So, I mean, most of us are educated. I mean, reading something, you know, I think is not that hard. So I think as a board, we can think about that, go forward. Do we want to save thousands and, you know, kind of review it, or do we want to come here and spend $5,000? So if there's nothing else here, we can move. Oh, sorry, Commissioner Adams.
okay, that's just this item, right?
Yeah, an apology, point of orders. We do not yet have a motion on the floor regarding the payables listing. Again, the recommended motion is to approve the June 2026 payables listing as presented and pending action of new business items.
Make a motion to accept the motion that came over from last month that was previously.
Bottom of
Make
page
a
one,
motion.
if you want to read that.
Where is it? Look, I
Bottom of
can't even.
page one, there's
Who
a
got on some
recommended
glasses?
motion.
Go ahead.
To approve the June 2026 payables list as presented pending action of new business.
You agree with that? Support.
Okay, so then I have the motion by Chandler, support by Adams. Are we ready for a roll call?
Yes, please.
Robbins,
Yes.
Warren,
Yes.
Adams,
Yes.
Chandler, Kennard,
Yes.
Yates, Tony,
Yes.
Bennett.
Yes.
Motion carries 8-0.
We pretty much already had that discussion. Okay, we're going to go ahead and move on to old business, and then, like Teresa stated, we'll jump back into payables under new business.
So old business item number 1 is the Blue Star 8 LLC reimbursement agreement for 306 12th Street redevelopment project. Just a reminder, entering into the agreement has already been approved by this board. We were waiting on approval or review and the final draft of the agreement from legal counsel. That's what's included in your packet is the final agreement. It's already been sent to the developer. I would like to see action today, although I will say the developer isn't here, so I don't think we can get all the signatures today. But if you could consider action, the recommended motion is to approve Blue Star 8 LLC reimbursement agreement as presented and authorize the board chair and board treasurer, that's how the agreement is set up, to sign. And we do need a notary present, so we'll have to do signatures at a different date.
Okay.
All right, Commissioner Adams?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Was this the agreement, I think that will be reimbursing 30 years out? I was reading.
I think there's only 7 years, so there's an existing Brownfield plan already in place.
Okay,
I think there's only like 7 years left for the
Okay.
developer.
oh, okay, so.
But yes, this is the mechanism
is
that
this a
they get
new-
reimbursed.
Is this a new development agreement here? Or I might have been
Yes.
reading the
So
old
the
one.
Brownfield plan has been in place for quite some time. And then a couple months ago, the developer submitted a project application
Okay.
to enter into this reimbursement agreement.
Okay,
This
is-
board accepted that application and accepted entering into the reimbursement agreement, and now this is the official document to accompany that.
Okay, so I read somewhere, and I don't remember where exactly, that there was something within an agreement that where the pricing went up and there was, I don't know.
There's a maximum of, I believe it's $100,000.
I
That's
think
already
what I was
stated in
reading
the
was like
Brownfield plan.
1
There-
point
there
some odd
is
million.
Interest
What
included
was that
in
in?
this. But that will be the maximum they can be, even if they have more costs than that, that would be the maximum they can be reimbursed, is at $100,000 plus the applicable interest.
And we won't do anything with this today anyway, right? So I have time to go back over it?
Well, you should take action to approve it if
Oh,
that's the
okay.
board's
And then
decision.
we can fix
But,
whatever.
so if, that's why the recommended motion includes authorizing those to sign
Okay.
so that they could sign outside of a regular meeting if you've already taken action.
Okay. Thank you, Commissioner Adams. Anyone else? Oh, sorry,
Question.
Mr.
Was there a
Willard.
project with this that's going to be developed?
Yes, it's the 306 12th Street. Most of the eligible activities were related to abatement and selective interior demolition.
Okay. But is there going to be a building or any specifics on I mean, how is the increment going to be created?
I think there might already be increment. I don't want to get backwards. One of the properties, I don't think it's that one.
Because I believe the young man that normally comes from Blue Star, it may not be with them anymore, and I don't know what is taking place with that.
Our current contact is Peter.
Okay. Peter Columbus himself?
Yeah, Clovis.
Okay.
I've been in email communication with Peter, and I wasn't sure if he was going to be able to make it today. Obviously, he's not here, so developer specifics I can't speak to, but again, when this project was considered, we did have developer representation here, and the board did have some back and forth discussion at that time. This is just entering in. They'll have to do the same process as we normally do when they want to submit for reimbursement. They'll have to submit all their invoices, proof of payment, and I'll do a review before any disbursement takes place. This is just the mechanism to allow for that.
To put it within a brownfield plan?
No, it's already in a
Oh,
brownfield
okay.
plan. But this is it's like a contract document, the agreement. So the brownfield plan sets the project up, right? The reimbursement agreement is that contract document between this board and the developer that says, yes, you're eligible for reimbursement. It's got to be consistent with the brownfield plan. Here's your maximum reimbursement. Here's how the process works for you to submit to us, for us to review. We'll disperse over time. It has all those details in it. Essentially, it outlines the process.
Yep, since we're already in a plan, I don't
Yep.
have any issues with that. It sounds like Commissioner Adams has another
Yes.
comment.
Upon all of that, though, there's usually a cost that's expected to incur?
The $100,000 plus
Okay,
applicable
okay.
interest, and that's taken straight from the brownfield
Okay,
plan.
okay, thank you.
Does anyone else have a comment?
Again, we don't have a motion on the floor yet.
So we just need a motion to approve, right,
Well, and hopefully to authorize the board chair and board treasurer to sign.
Make a motion to accept the development agreement or it- as recommended for the chair and co-chair?
Board chair and treasurer.
Board chair and treasurer to sign. Was that correct?
Can I see your glasses? No, no. Oh, here.
I'll support.
So we have a motion by Adams, support by Warren.
Please call the roll.
Support.
Robbins,
Yes.
Warren,
Yes.
Adams,
Yes.
Chandler,
Yes.
Kennard,
Yes.
Yates, Tony,
Yes.
Bennett.
Yes.
Motion carries 8-0.
Okay, perfect. So our next item on old business is our Brownfield retreat update and LBRF policy guidelines.
So it's really the policy guidelines are the action item. These came out of our retreat summary. These were presented to you last month. I was not here. My understanding is the board was not ready to discuss them last month, so they are included again this month. I think it would make sense to go through them one by one, especially considering there's not much different to the housing one. So let me see, that should start on page 28. Let me get there as well. So for ease of reference, anything that's new is highlighted yellow. So the board already has an approved housing incentive evaluation policy and procedure guidelines. Everything that's not in yellow is part of those approved guidelines. The yellow is the only change. So during the board retreat, we talked about how historically, this board has used local-only tax increment, but recently has come to understand that if you also approve the use of state sources, then that shares the burden with the local tax jurisdictions. So this board was moving to being more supportive of pursuing both local and state sources. So that's the only change here in that last bullet point on page 28. It says, while the Brownfield statute allows for additional ways to incentivize projects, the type of support that this authority is likely to provide for housing developments is through the use of a Brownfield plan. This starts the yellow. The BRA is supportive of utilizing both local and state sources of tax increment to reimburse eligible costs. Pursuit of state housing tax increment financing support beyond statutorily approved requires, the next page, preparation of an Act 381 work plan and submittal to MISTA. It also has it set up as preparation of the plan costs will be the developer's expense. And if we're setting it up for the developer to pay for it, I put in here that they can use whatever qualified Brownfield consultant they wish. But if they use someone else, then the city's consultant, that would require a third-party review by your consultant. There's also some flexibility here, the last sentence, project-specific support will be determined on a case-by-case basis.
I don't think I understood. No, the review of other consultants.
So Teresa, would you be able to clarify, Commissioner Adams is saying the review by other consultants, which.
Yeah, I
That's
can
on page
explain that
29.
process. So basically, most of this draft says the types of projects you want to support, the types of things you're likely going to support, and you're going to do that through a Brownfield plan. The Brownfield plan costs money to prepare. So I put it on here that it would typically be the developer's expense. Now, it's case by case, so if for some reason this board said, no, we want to incur the cost to do that ourselves, you could do so. But obviously, we're thoughtful about resources. So if the developer is paying for it, you could say, no, you have to use our consultant. But since they're paying for it, I thought it was reasonable to say any qualified Brownfield consultant could prepare that plan. So for example, the Project T Brownfield plan. That plan was put together by the developers. The developers are familiar, they understand compliance with Act 381, they were able to do that themselves. It still required a third-party review from Fishbeck, who is your Brownfield consultant. So at a minimum, I do recommend that your Brownfield consultant conducts a third-party review. But this puts the onerous for payment generally on the developer, also allows you to have some additional review just to make sure there's compliance.
Can I add some additional comment
Thank
on that?
We'll go, Mr. Unless you feel like he can answer a question.
Yes,
Okay, so we'll, if you don't mind, we'll go Ivy and then Mr. Little.
there are a couple things. What represents, let's say they're in counties, 80 to 100% AMI? And does that create a gap between whoever is addressing the lower income housing and that number? Is there a gap there? Because, and I'm specifically looking at the bullet point just above the highlight where it says there's a need for workforce housing, developed housing in the city. And we're focusing on the 80 to 100% area median income, that AMI. So what is that? And then whoever is addressing the lower income housing, is there a gap there? Or is there a smooth transition from whoever's addressing that to what we address?
So I'll let Teresa.
So MISHA establishes those AMI rates annually. I think it's April 1st typically is when those get out. They get updated every year. So all these brownfield plans need to rely on that one state source that has it itemized by county. Brownfield statute, these incentives qualify for 80 to 120% AMI. So that's by statute. If you're asking so this board can only approve what they have the authority to do so. If you're asking about programs for other low income, there are some like low income housing tax credits, LIHTC programs. There are other programs that are specifically designed for those lower income. This incentive was specifically designed to fill that gap for workforce housing, which they define as at 80 to 120, because before that, there were programs for low, there were developers building at market rate, and this is where the state identified there wasn't, exactly.
So this is filling the gap. This 80 to 120 is what you're saying.
That's what it's designed for, yes.
They call it the missing middle, right? Is that what I've been
Well,
hearing?
missing middle is very similar, but a little bit different.
Okay, and Ivy, are you done, or you have more questions? So the next person is Mr. Little.
Just wanted to say that I would like for us to add in whatever we do with developers working with brownfield plans, that we include language in there that if they use extended services of the city for engineering, legal, or whatever, that they have to pay for that. Because on our recent project, the city incurred some tremendous additional costs because of things that kept coming up with questions and so forth, and that kind of thing. Typically, when cities work with developers on these kind of things, they normally require them to put down an escrow amount, and they draw it, and as they use it, they replenish it. That didn't happen with this, and a lot of that wound up on our city budget.
All right, thank you. That's definitely something to think about, Commissioner Adams.
Yes, it is something to think about, and I think that it was something that was addressed when it was happening, being the co-chair of the Economic Development Committee, that the city inserted itself probably a little too much that ended up costing the city. My question is, this right here, you said is done something annually? Because just on the news, either yesterday or today, for as long as we've been called twins with St. Joe, City of St. Joe, we're becoming twins. Because there's a big gap and a drop in everything. They're filling the brunt of exactly what this poor impoverished community has been feeling. So I'm just wondering when this was done and when will, or do we need to request another of the state? Because they're probably going to. And would it make a difference or have any type of impact on?
I don't think there's any way, I mean, I don't know exactly what goes into them determining this, but whoever does that, they have a process, it's statewide. MISHDA is the authority who establishes those for this program. I don't think there's any way to request a variance from that.
Are you ever in affiliation with any meetings with the Brownfield Authority, consultant of St. Joe or county?
I'm not personally, but I do believe that Fishbeck has some involvement there.
Oh, okay. Yes.
All right, is there anyone else that had a comment regarding this? No? Okay, so we can move on to the next one. Is on page 30. Right?
So it depends on if you want to take action on that one or if you would prefer to discuss the next one first. The next one is operational policy and use of the local Brownfield revolving fund.
I'm okay doing them together.
Okay. So as we discussed at the retreat, this used the same format as that housing policy because a lot of the things are the same. So again, anything that's white would be things this board has already approved. Yellow is new as operational policy. There's quite a bit more. You'll see I used yellow and green. The yellow items, we pretty much all talked about at the retreat. The green was in an effort to be more sustainable, and we didn't quite get there in our discussions. So I have some things proposed. I wanted to call attention to the board has not discussed that yet. So I am looking at pages 30 and 31 of your packet. So let's start with page 30. Okay, the beginning is, we're not just talking about housing, so obviously that's a change. We're talking about our local Brownfield revolving fund. The second yellow paragraph, this is what you decided was your priority during the retreat, creating a sustainable LBRF, supporting projects that increase housing, spur job growth, increase the city tax base, and prioritize utilizing local workforce when feasible. If you go about halfway down to that yellow bullet point, the scope of the Brownfield redevelopment project must be significant enough to increase the taxable value. Oh, that's just because the other one was more housing specific. The developer is expected to invest sufficient funds into the project, a minimum of 25%, and that 25% equity is not eligible for reimbursement. Project completion within 12 to 18 months, unless there's a larger scale project, could request consideration. This also requires the developer to provide project updates to the board, a minimum of quarterly. The next one is kind of the priorities again. Utilizing both local and state sources. This is similar to the last one. Again, if you use state sources, that would require a work plan, and that would primarily be the developer's expense. It's got that same language. They could utilize any qualified Brownfield consultant. However, use of a firm other than the authority's consultant would require a third-party review.
I'm sorry, Teresa. I'm lost now because I thought we were on. Did you go over the BRA supports projects that create public good? I might be missing.
Oh, I'm sorry. I just said that was a review of your priorities, so I didn't go through all of those. Because essentially, we had said that in the beginning, and now it's in a bullet point. Apologize. Yeah, so top of 31, the priorities are increase housing, spurring job growth, increasing city tax base, prioritizing utilizing local workforce when feasible. And then, since this is not our housing policy, it says housing projects should align with that policy. The next bullet point is what I was saying is basically the same thing of state and local, and that's the developer's expense. 1, 2, 3. Fourth bullet point down. This is where we start talking about how to create a sustainable program. So I have in here that the policy would be that all brownfield plans will be prepared with 5 full years of capture into the LBRF. That's allowable by statute. The purpose of that fund is to create a sustainable program for the authority. It's called the revolving fund because ideally you're using it to spur development, to help these projects move forward that couldn't go, and support other projects.
So is that the end of the yellow? Because I see on that next bullet point it's green, but the comments are yellow. Do you mean green for that, or do you mean yellow?
I think that one's still yellow. I will read that one. The bullet point is green, the highlighting is yellow, as Member Warren mentioned. That says the authority may consider project support in the form of either a grant or a loan through its LBRF. The authority is most likely to consider an LBRF loan to be reimbursed through TIF. If sufficient TIF is not realized, the developer would be responsible for repayment of loan funds.
So now if we can pause and do some questions, Commissioner Adams.
Okay,
Sorry, which page are you on?
That was the 31.
Okay.
Up at the top. We're in the first, second paragraph there, but I think it will correspond with the question I'm going to ask at the bottom of 30, as it relates to a percentage amount. Okay, does that percentage amount have to do with developers that receive federal funds that that has nothing to do with, okay, so back over here on 31, where the developers actually, if we're going to be supportive in creating, for the public good, some type of programming to possibly come up with some type of workforce to allow these developers to be charted with those that receive federal funding for their projects of development, that we hold them accountable for a percentage. That
So-
they're supposed to, that actually, you know what I'm thinking about, and I think I'm asking it right, but it's just like when a city engineer get a federal grant or federal funds that they're supposed to utilize minorities or what have you, and a percentage of 10%, I think, is held until the project is complete. Do you get what I'm saying, or what I'm asking?
I understand the concept of retainage. I think you're saying, should we have a consideration if they're also receiving federal funds?
Yes.
So that's not currently in here. It does say under that bullet point where it talks about the 25% equity, it does say the developers are expected to detail the financial viability of the project, submitting project pro formas, lending agreements, et cetera. You always have some flexibility to evaluate on case by case. The design of these policy guidelines is to establish a basis of what you're likely to support. So this board kind of knows what your priorities are, so developers coming in know what you're likely to support. But there may always be a special case where you say, maybe we want to evaluate this. This doesn't take that flexibility away, but it sets some parameters as a foundation.
Okay, and I asked that question because some that have come before us, those have been the major concerns of hiring locals, taking them on and giving them jobs. And I know that this one in particular, the Blue Star, that has never been a problem because this person, being a developer, is aware of the community's needs, and I see my people that look like me working all the time for him within the community. But there may be others that come before us that don't. You know what I'm saying? That we want to make sure that they're looking out for the best interests of those in the community as well.
I'm not understanding the question. Are
There's
you,
a reference to the first one, where it says that they will use local workforce if feasible, it says.
If feasible.
Yeah.
And
But
that's
there's
what I'm
nothing
saying.
I see in here.
That's what I'm saying, usually when we have a developer to come before us and present their development, we get a chance to ask those questions and form a relationship. You know?
I want to clarify the question. So are you saying that, I thought you were originally saying you wanted it to be a percent requirement, but you're not saying that. You're just saying when a developer comes, you would discuss it with them when they come to the Brownfield. Is that what I'm understanding? The question for Teresa?
First part.
Okay. Just, I'm not clear. I don't know if people at home will be clear.
The
So,
first part.
okay. Teresa,
So I do want to clarify your mechanisms for support. You have an LBRF account. What this says is primarily you're going to support projects through a brownfield plan. That means the developers are paying for the redevelopment, they're paying for their taxes, they submit receipts for their eligible expenses, they get reimbursed over time through the tax increment that is created by the investment that they put in. That is the lowest cost to this board. It also says you could potentially approve a grant or a loan. So those are your three mechanisms of support. First choice would be Brownfield plan. You can also consider a grant or a loan through these dollars. So those are the three mechanisms of support.
Okay, and I get that and I understand it, and when listening to you going back, I remember that a part of it was that the reason for their recapturing was for them to be able to reinvest in their property, in their development, as well as hire on some workers.
Okay, is there any other comments on this?
So we haven't gotten to the green item yet.
I was specifically meaning the yellow, because we were gonna comments on the yellow, no? Okay, the green.
Okay, so again, we talked about wanting to create a sustainable program. We didn't quite get to how we do that. I have something proposed here. With funding sustainability in mind, the authority will determine the LBRF balance at its first regular meeting of the calendar year and establish a maximum annual LBRF expenditure of 30% of the established balance. So that would kind of limit how much you spend a year. Additionally, single projects will not receive a grant in an amount that exceeds 20% of the established balance. So if you can establish it once annually, you have something to go by. If you're going month by month, that's going to be way too hard to track. So this is not something you have to approve. This is proposed. This would give you a way to kind of say, what do we have in our account? Do we want to limit how much we spend a year? And if so, do we also want to limit how much one single project gets? So that is for consideration.
Anyone have any comments other than Commissioner Adams?
I do have a comment. I don't
Okay,
believe the
Mr.
Brownfield should be making grants out of the LBRF.
Okay, Commissioner Adams.
I just want to go back to something that I always bring up, and actually I spearheaded, and it's really a real document, and it's a live living document. After hearing one of our children, I think it was last month, when they held and hosted something at the high school, this young man is going on to college for engineering. I'm not sure what kind of engineering, but if we have any graduating, I think that we need to make that living document of a scholarship available for those that are going into the environmental field.
Teresa, do you have a comment on that?
I'm not sure if there was a specific question in there.
A document that I've brought up on several different occasions, that we make it available for any of Benton Harbor area school graduates, a scholarship. Actually, depending on what they're going to study. If we have some graduates,
Well, it does have to be an eligible cost as defined by Act 381. So I'm
This is a
not sure
document
that
that-
the scholarship would apply.
this is a document that our previous consultant put together, and we paid an attorney for
Is it a scholarship?
for this board.
Is it you're saying it's a scholarship?
There is a scholarship application.
So
I've
don't
never seen
recall
that
that.
document. I'm
I
happy
have
to
it,
review
and
it
I'll
if
pull it up if I
requested.
need
So,
to.
can we, I don't want to spend too long talking about that, so if Commissioner Adams has the document, maybe she could forward it on and you can take a quick look into it for next meeting, because I thought every time we bring up education, it's always like goes back to, is it allowable under Act 381? So I don't know about a scholarship. Ivy, was your hand up? Okay, so we're gonna move on to Ivy.
And I appreciate the recommendation, because I think we should have some guardrails. But what does that look like? So let's say we got $100,000. Are you saying that then we're gonna only spend $20,000 in any given year? Because then I think that's too limiting. Because we might get projects that, brownfield plans that require
Well, again, a brownfield plan wouldn't cost you money. That would be just reimbursement through their tax increments. This is specifically if you are giving out a grant or a loan where you are expending funds. Again, this is just a recommendation. What's in here right now is 30%. So in your example, if you had $100,000 in the beginning of the year, you would limit it to $30,000 that you're going to expend that year. You don't have to use this format. This is one suggestion of how to keep funds sustainable.
And I think we should do it in some kind of way, but I don't know.
Is this our budget?
So in my opinion, we have to be responsible and we have to ensure the brownfield has money. And if you give it all away, you don't have anything, you can't help anybody else. So I'm okay with the 20% because again, if we're doing a true brownfield plan, we're not spending anything and we are spurring development. If you're giving all the developers grants, then you have no money left after a while. So you have to, being on this board is our responsibility to ensure that the board continues to go. And the reality of being an investor is you have to have money. You just can't be someone and have no money on your own and say, can you give me everything for free? Well, everybody in America would be an investor. So you have to have skin in the game. And if you don't agree with that, that's the problem with being on this board. We have to ensure that this board can survive. And we can't do that by giving every dime we have away. So I would be okay with putting this limit on there. And I'm happy if anyone else has any other comments. Commissioner Adams.
So I'm not for a grant. A loan, a low interest loan, something that we've talked about for years from the very beginning when we knew that we would be capturing some dollars. Because I think that the need is too great. And I don't think that we would be able to service as many that would come. And I think just to keep it fair, that it should be a loan, period, point blank.
And
Of low interest, of the lowest.
So I'm going to go with Mr. Little, then we'll come back to Ivy.
And if I might, just to piggyback on what both of you said, you don't have enough money to effectively do much for the population. If you're going to make either a low-interest loan or a grant, that's only going to go to one or two people. All you're going to do is create a lot of negative angst toward you from those out there that feel like, why not me?
That's why I should probably go straight to our school.
Ivy, you're next, please.
Well, I'm not totally opposed to grants. I think anyone who comes to us, we're gonna have to, review or take a look at what they're doing to see if it benefits our community in the way that we want it to. And I do believe that there ought to be some guardrails. So maybe, I see here you say 30% of the established OBRF dollars for, that's a maximum of 30%, and then a grant that does not exceed 20%.
That was for a single project.
Right. So, I think maybe we could say that no more than a certain percentage be used for grants in any given year. And then those other parameters here for single person grant or for a larger also be established. But I don't think that we should just say
Okay.
no grants whatsoever,
Okay.
because there's something may present itself that is worthy of our considering a grant.
Madam Chair, can I?
Is there anyone else besides Commissioner?
Don't you say
I'm
that
only
again.
saying that because you talked a lot, and I want to make sure I'm not
No.
skipping.
I will wait.
I want to make sure I'm not skipping anybody else.
Say that.
I apologize for saying that. Is there anyone who has not spoken that wanted a chance to speak?
Please.
Okay, Commissioner Adams.
I better understood when Ivy asked the question in the manner in which she did. But I think that we also need a clear understanding that that does not limit.
Us. The
I'm not sure what you're asking.
More long. If we had projects that we wanted to do as board members, we're not excluded.
I don't think that's come up at all, but,
As
I mean, in this discussion today?
it's determined that we are eligible.
Okay.
Oh, no, not today, but in times past. And I just think that it needs to be clear because I have some projects. And I'd love to have a grant. I'm doing some development.
So the policy currently does not prohibit nor speak to at all anything with board members. So, I mean, I think that would be unless it's in the bylaws, which I'd have to review, that would be for another time during board discussion. Unless it's something that people want in this policy.
Exactly. Well, I exclude myself.
So what, oh,
Teresa?
so currently what I have here is kind of a percentage on annual expenditures and a percentage on single projects if they're a grant. What I heard was it may also be good to have a percentage of grants itself, not just a single project, but limiting the percentage of how many grants you approve per year. I also heard some conversation of maybe no approval of grants and only loans. So those are the comments that I've heard so far.
I like per year.
I will also say that if you, whatever policy you choose to approve today, if you approve one, can always be reviewed and reevaluated at any time, but then that would be the standing policy until if and when it was revised.
Okay, so we have on the table no grants. We have on the table a limited amount of grants as an option.
Limited.
What I would say as a compromise, what if you lowered this to 10%? You know how you have on here exceeds 20%? What if you did 10%? Because here's the thing that I'm concerned about. If you do a limit of amount, you might have a person come in, they're just lucky to be first, right? But then a month later, someone else has another amazing idea. Now you have to say no because you said yes to the first person. Going back to what I said about an investor should have their own funds. So anything they don't have to pay back is a blessing, in my opinion, because most investors don't get free money. So what if you did 10%? I don't know. I'm just, again, this is just kind of a compromise. I'm asking people to comment, but if you did 10%, that gives you a low amount. But then in 5 months, if someone else had this magnificent idea, you wouldn't have to say no because you gave I don't know. I'm asking.
You're saying for single projects,
Yes.
but have a higher percentage of how many grants per year?
No, I'm not saying have a higher percent of grants. I'm saying do it lower than this 20%. And I'm saying then in the future, if there was some other amazing idea, you could possibly consider it versus if you do only saying, okay, I'm going to do 1 grant per year. Well, what if someone in 8 months has something amazing? I don't know.
Apology, is she the notary?
Yes.
We don't have our developer here, so we can't sign that today. Thank you for stopping up. I apologize, we arranged to have a notary present if we had all the parties to sign that agreement, but we don't, so we'll have to have signatures on that another day.
No tornado.
Does anyone else have any comments, like any ideas?
Well, if I might.
Little?
One, you can expect to be getting requests from the city to address some of the city issues that we don't have money for. One of the commissioners just put that in a document this past week that he's expecting that.
Expecting what?
That we would make requests to you to help deal with some of the issues that the city doesn't have money to, like cleaning up and dumping and some of that kind of stuff that we're trying to do.
Teresa, can you give me your expertise? What are other brownfields doing? Have you ever heard of them giving away grants, or can you give us some of your expertise from other communities?
Most of the boards I'm familiar with support through a brownfield plan first, and then would typically do a loan through their LBRF that is repaid with TIF. So again, it's supporting projects that have enough increase in the taxable value by the money that they're investing in the project.
I like that. Sorry, Ivy.
You haven't worked with any communities that have awarded grants? Because
Only this board.
only this
I'm not saying no other board has done that. I haven't worked with them. I work with Kalamazoo County. Logan works with the city of Kalamazoo. They do a lot of loans that are reimbursed through TIF. That's their primary mechanism.
primary, but didn't I read from something you provided, or maybe I was at the convention or something, but that they also do loans, that, and it was from something from Kalamazoo that sparked,
They do loans, and then those loans are reimbursed through TIF.
I mean, grants.
They may have in their policy that it allows grants, but I specifically asked them when this board was considering that, I asked around to see what other boards were doing. I also asked your legal counsel when I was in a meeting with him, what he was familiar with. It's allowable by statute. There aren't a lot of boards that I'm familiar with that utilize grants.
Yeah, because I read it in one of our packets, I'm pretty sure, but I read it somewhere. So it's not, it may be unusual, or it's not as used as often as maybe loans. But again, I don't think we should just totally discount it.
Is that an alarm? No, okay.
Okay.
Because if the city comes to us, that's not a loan, is it?
It depends on how you set it up.
It depends on how we set
All
it
right.
up.
Okay, can we have order? Ivy, are you finished? Ivy, I'm sorry, are you finished? Okay, do you have a comment, sir? No?
I'll just comment. I'm, once again, being good stewards of the finances that we have. I think when individuals come to us with a proposal, I think the first option should be Brownfield. That should be option number one. Secondly, should be the loan option. Because I think if you give someone a loan option, they have something over their head. There's a repayment. There's an incentive to make this thing work, because if not, there's consequences. If you give a grant, no strings attached, I think that lessens an individual's desire, because okay, if this thing blows up or I run out of funding or whatever the case may be, we can't look into the future. But if that happens and we just give a grant, no strings attached, okay, I walk away, no harm, no foul. I think if you're going to be investing in the city, you need to have adequate resources that can sustain whatever project it is you're trying to accomplish. And by giving out loans, we get something in return. Giving out grants, we don't necessarily get anything in return, because it may not happen. But at least with the loan, I think it incentivizes
Perfect.
an individual or a group to make this thing come to fruition.
Thank you.
That's all.
I wanted to just comment, because I think someone had mentioned that would the city be paying the money back. So I want to remind, this is something that I know our chair would say, the Brownfield is to support the city of Benton Harbor. So you can't compare the city of Benton Harbor to someone asking for a grant, because that's not what this was built for. We're here to support the city of Benton Harbor. So that's not a good comparison. And based on my thoughts now, I am thinking about, if we're hearing the facts, we're hearing that this is not something that's common that other communities do. We know our current financial situation of our city. I am thinking that the compromise here could be, I know we were talking about a low interest loan. Couldn't there even be something called a no interest loan? So I am going to go for, you can't beat that with a stick. So I am going to say, I'm okay with deleting this grant, but a no interest loan would be a huge help to someone that's getting into investing. And Commissioner Adams.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm reminded of exactly why this authority was put together, because we are Benton Harbor. And we work to develop Benton Harbor. I took an oath for this seat of the Brownfield Authority Board. I'm very aware of the task and the constitution that I have taken to and towards the growth of my community. And it's been an honor to do so. And when I hear Mr. Little, the city manager, the economic development director, address this board in the manner in which he does, I find it very disheartening after we've given the city. I've had plans waiting for these type of opportunities as a board member to see some other things, to bring some other things to fruition with this board's help and guidance of our own. We have given the city $175,000. I had a young lady that I watched address the commission, her elected officials, about one of the same properties that was brought to the attention of the city manager when we gave that $170,000. She has the nicest home on Highland. To have to deal with the mess that's next door to her house, where she have grandchildren that play around in raccoons and all kind of animals. It's very disheartening that that mess is still there. But we're cleaning up the city. I had a mother. It's some people that don't, I'm not an elected official. I'm tired of the phone calls. But I'm going to do what love would have me to do. A mother with 8 children that's been begging for another trash can. We're cleaning up the city, though. Her trash can is in overload. But she needs a second trash can because she has 8 children.
Commissioner,
Wait a minute.
gotta
We're
move-
talking about economic development,
but we should be talking about our agenda item.
and we are.
Yeah, we do need to, point of order for meeting is that we do need to stay on task
Yes, and then
with our
you said it's
agenda
a turn up.
items.
So, yes, you have the floor.
Every time it comes up, it always gets shut down. We always have to go over and say we'll do it next time. And as soon as we get here, we get to talking and we get to doing items, we get to doing everything, and it never be addressed. And I am the one she's talking about on the title that's living next to all the stuff that's been there for 3 years. My gate on the side of my house, raccoons been biting on my gate, trying to get up under there. So why all the time it's getting ready to be brought up? We have to shut it down. It's always a shutdown.
So, Ms. Yates, it's not a shutdown. It's that when we are, if I could speak, we're in a meeting to discuss certain things on the agenda. So even if we let Commissioner Adams talk for the next 30 or 40 minutes about cleanup, we really couldn't address that because that's not what this particular meeting is about. But I don't know. I'm not always there, so I can't speak to never. But I'm talking about this particular meeting. We're in a Brownfield Authority Board meeting. So we have to discuss what's on the Brownfield agenda. So if you bring up, the lawn needs mowed around the corner, that's not what our task is. So can I finish for the look? Okay, that's not what our task is. So we cannot, I don't understand. Is there a way we can get rules given to people so they understand how the meetings run and how, because I mean, I don't want people to say, oh, you're shutting something down. It has to be related to the topic on the agenda, and I think that that's not clear.
It was related to what we're talking about. I'm talking
Reese.
about something that's why I said.
Absolutely, you're right on point. So this is a public board. You need to be in compliance with the Open Meetings Act. There is an Open Meetings Act guidebook or something. It's only like 4 pages. I can send that out that kind of speaks to how board members, or, how meetings need to be run, how they need to be public noticed, how you need to have a motion and support before you discuss. It has all those items in there. So that's exactly what we do need to do. We are within a public meeting, and we need to make sure we are only taking action on what's on our agenda right now. So in an effort of time, I would say, let's try to see if we know where we're at. If we're not sure, we can either not approve this policy tonight, we could take this whole green bullet point out and approve the other stuff, add something in later, or we can come to a consensus on these items we're discussing. But in an effort of time, I think we should try to say, where are we at on this? And again, these can be approved later, but if you do approve a policy, that will be the standing policy until it is approved.
Okay, so if I could speak quickly here. So we're talking about the green, just in case anybody is not clear. Oh, 1 second, please. In case anybody's not clear, we're specifically on the green. I had made a suggestion to delete the final row where it says additionally, and my option was a no interest loan. So that was the last point that actually was pertaining to what's on the agenda. Go ahead.
My suggestion is that we take out the green part and approve what we have. And then, do we have can we go into special sessions or private sessions or something, or discuss this and put this back in later after? Because it's a lot of discussion about different things that we need to take into consideration and think about putting in this plan.
You can approve it without that in, and it wouldn't speak to that, then you wouldn't have an established percentage. So yes, you can do that, and at another meeting, if we had it on the agenda, you could discuss this further. That's an option.
And I do want to make it clear that trash and picking up garbage is not in ours. So that wouldn't be discussed in a closed session either, because we're discussing Brownfield Authority. Commissioner Adams.
So are we ready for a motion?
We don't yet have a motion on the table.
So are I respectfully heard, authority board member
Robbins.
We're going to vote on or make a motion for the yellow portion. Everything is revisable though, right?
Yes.
It's always revisable.
Yes, but that would be the standing policy until such time that it was revised.
Yes, I would like us to make a motion to accept it. I like the fact of a loan with no interest for city of Benton residents. Well, actually, yeah.
I don't mind that. Commissioner Adams added the stipulation of residents.
Yes. I mean, I promise no, watch.
Ivy?
I really do like that, no interest loan as an option. And for residents, that could be great too. But you know what, I think that even if we, put a blurb in there that says, we are not, just we're not leaving any, or not considering all options. I mean, that the board will come to the best decision according to what is presented to us. So that we have an option of all those pathways. We don't have to say now that it's 10% or 30% or anything, but we can have a statement that says, we're not going to spend beyond that we'll always have at least some amount, and then we'll consider whatever is best for the city.
I think if I'm understanding what Ivy is saying, so why do you have to even put grant in here whatsoever? If you put what we talked, if we put what we just talked about, no interest loan, City of Benton Harbor, and then we put a blurb at the very end, board will can consider other financial, I don't know what the proper term would be, vehicles, other financial vehicles as they,
Support.
you know, I don't know, to be worded better, but that would be an easy way.
Support.
That way, if something weird or something extraordinary came up, we wouldn't be limited to a paragraph.
You know, we spending a lot of time on this because we're steadily thinking it out when it's revisable. So if we just accept the motion for that right there, we can always come back and we'll have some time to think.
Do you have that, Teresa? Because we could just add that in now and then get this all taken care of until,
That's what I need clarity. It sounds like we're saying take out any of these percentages and just say,
actually, I'm saying delete at additionally. Do you see additionally? Delete that sentence completely.
okay, so you still want that at the first meeting of the year, you would establish the maximum annual expenditure of 30%?
I don't mind that because it gets us talking about things in the beginning of the year unless somebody objects. I think that's a good conversation to have.
Okay, so let's take it one by one. Are we in favor of keeping that piece in?
Aye.
At the beginning of our year, we're going to, let's see, we'll determine the balance in this first regular meeting of the calendar year and establish a maximum annual expenditure, period. I would cut it off there. Because if we're going to review it.
Okay, but then you don't have any policy to guideline that, and then how do you establish that?
In the review.
But I mean, then you just decide during that discussion how you want to?
Yes.
I thought of one other thing, not to complicate it, but you do have a fiscal year from July to June. This talks about the first calendar year, so I don't know if maybe that should be aligned with your fiscal year.
Personally, I like having it aligned with the fiscal year.
Yes, me too.
Ms. Roberts.
Roberts, yeah. But I like that 30% to stay in.
Yes, that's right. Ivy.
And the only reason I say that I don't think we need it there is because we're reviewing it at the beginning of each of our fiscal years. We're looking at how much we have there. So the amount we may want to spend for that year may be more than 30% or less. It depends on, because that's a fluctuating amount.
It could be
It's not
negotiable.
static.
It could be negotiable.
I think that's fair.
So this would be next month. Next month would be the beginning of our fiscal year. So then if we cut it off at expenditure, essentially that's saying, we'll see what our balance is, and during that meeting, the board will determine a maximum annual expenditure.
Then Commissioner Adams.
No, I was just going to say, could it be leading up to negotiable, a 30% negotiable amount?
I think we'll discuss it.
Yeah.
So if it's going to be brought before the board at the beginning of the fiscal year, I think we can not put it in there.
Okay, and then the next sentence currently says, additionally, single projects will not receive a grant in an amount that exceeds 20%. It sounds like we're wanting more flexibility in there.
What we're asking you to do is delete that entire sentence.
Okay, delete that entire sentence and, so we can just leave that totally as is, or you can add something about, you know, you may consider loans or flexibility. Maybe we leave it as is.
Maybe we know we're doing that, but maybe we don't have to even put it on there. How do you guys feel about that?
Well, that's a part of marketing, so it should be.
Here.
We should take out
Loan.
the green part? or-
No, so we were going to delete where it says additionally, the last sentence.
Right, that last
So
sentence.
what Teresa is asking is, should we put the no interest loan as even in there, or should we just stop here?
And then you could evaluate it on a case-by-case basis.
And maybe that should be stated, though, that it would be on a state, because if I'm looking for something, I want to know up front what I'm coming to apply for.
So what about financial vehicles, or, like if we say a general statement will be evaluated by the authority board?
I mean, because to me, that's not transparency.
Teresa.
So this is an effort to try and define some things to get on the same page, but if we're not quite there yet, that's okay. I think it's better to leave some flexibility than put something in that this board doesn't want to live by. Yes, it can be changed, but that takes formal action and review. So if we're not sure, I'm thinking right now where we're sitting is we would have, with funding sustainability in mind, the authority will determine the LBRF balance at its first regular meeting of the fiscal year and establish a maximum annual LBRF expenditure, no percentage. And then just say, all project incentives will be evaluated on a case-by-case basis. And then if you want to revise something down the road, you can add that in at that time.
Mr. Bennett, did anyone else, did you have another comment or no? Okay, so I think we're good to vote on this, right?
Was that your motion?
Supporting, I'm,
Say that's good.
oh,
Motion, you can. Oh, me? Oh, sorry, I thought you were gonna make the motion. Okay. So Teresa, when you're ready, I'm gonna make a motion to approve. One second. Old business.
The recommended motions are on page 2 of the packet.
Okay, so we're doing 1 and 2 together.
Okay.
So I make a motion to approve the updated housing incentive evaluation policy and procedure guidelines as presented, and to approve the operational policy and procedures guidelines utilizing the local Brownfield revolving fund. And I don't know if I should say as presented because we made some updates.
As
updated,
amended?
as amended.
As amended during board discussion?
Yep, as amended during the board discussion.
Okay. So we have a motion, if we could get support. And then before we vote, I'll just tell you what I have in those things before we take roll call.
Support.
So we have a motion by Warren, support by Adams. So before we take roll call, the changes that we talked about were determining the first fiscal meeting and annual expenditure and evaluating incentives on a case-by-case basis. Perfect. Okay, are we ready for a roll call?
Yes, please call the roll.
Robbins?
Yes.
Warren?
Yes.
Adams?
yes.
Chandler? Kennard?
Yes.
Yates? Tony?
Yes.
Bennett?
Yes.
I don't know about you, but I really feel like celebrating. I think that was an accomplishment. We worked through a lot right there. Motion carries 8-0.
I just want to let the co-chair know that we will be revisiting this at some point.
But that's our right. That's our year.
Because in looking at this too, what are consequences if a person doesn't follow the timeline? Right.
That's a good call. I don't want to go over that right this second, Teresa, but maybe at our next meeting, maybe we can go over consequences. So if we have a timeline or a rule, what happens if someone doesn't follow it?
Yes.
Is that something that we could put on next month's agenda to just refresh everybody's?
Or just this thing, yeah. A whole marginal council.
Yes.
Well, we will have that evaluation on there because we will be talking about our LBRF balance because that's going to be the first meeting of our fiscal year.
Question.
I will also say really quick, if you'll recall, when we approved the loan earlier this year, it was your legal counsel's guidance that there's not a lot of teeth to enforce those loans. We put some things in place, and every project will have a formal agreement associated with it, but there's not a lot of teeth. But again, when we have that discussion next month, if we want to get into that. we
And
could.
one thing that I want to make sure you bring back, and we might have discussed it, but I just think in my brain, lean.
Yes.
I don't know why that can't happen,
Yes.
but we're going to go, you had one more comment before we move on? Oh, sorry. Who had a comment? Okay, so I'm going to hear from Ms. Kennard because I haven't heard from her all day.
Thank you. One of the things that I would like to be clear and fair, that sometimes when, as the city is asking for monies for cleanup, and we're able to discuss that, but then when she mentions a problem about the cleanup and the problem that she got, then they're ready to shut her down. So I didn't think that that was a fair thing. We should leave a spare place open for her to speak into that, because this is a part of the money that's supposed to be allocated for cleanup.
So I just want to say one quick thing. If you guys look at page number 3, there's something, if you look at J, it says member comments. So if you have a comment as a member, that would be the correct order to do your comment, not during another part of the agenda. So I think that should work fine, because it actually works in our commission meetings where we speak at the end. So member comments would be if you had a comment that's not specifically on the agenda, you could have your time to speak about your specific item. And that works.
Not yet.
So in other words, you're saying that I'm out of order for me to brought this up now?
Well, it's over with now, but what I thought you had a comment on was what we were talking about on the agenda. But if you want, oh gosh. Mrs. Yates, do you have a comment on the agenda, or do you want to wait till your comment to member comments? I saw your hand.
It was about the agenda because I didn't know that we had one about the member comment. So when she said, what different things she's putting in next month, I was just gonna ask, could that be a part of my next month? But I didn't know the member comment. So you're gonna speak on member, okay, perfect.
So if there's no more comments, we do have one more thing. We have our new business. So let's get to new business. And that is our 2025 and remaining 2024 tax disbursements.
Yes, so there's a lot of separate line items here. It's all pretty much standard business. So I think if you have a question on a specific one, we can go through it, but these are all brownfield plans that have been in place. These are all projects that had reimbursement agreements in place for some time. They've already had their eligible expenses all approved, and we're just working through the years of paying that down. So they're pretty standard. I will say that the Fidelity Building, where the city of Benton Harbor is the developer, that one, this payment is finishing the reimbursement to the city, and then we're starting our capture into our LBRF account. So you'll notice down, I have the LBRF transfers at the bottom. So we got our tax increments, that check all goes into your checking account. Now that we've done this evaluation, 2 of those are appropriate to be deposited into our LBRF. So there is a transfer from the checking to the money market, which is our LBRF, for the Fidelity project, an amount of $51,112.53, and the Barber project, which I'd have to go to the actual one to find the address on that. But let's just take a look at the first one. So this first one is the Cartar 147. I want to call out a couple things, because like I mentioned, these projects are known by a lot of different names. I don't know them all yet. You likely don't know them all yet. So you can see a couple things. First of all, who it's going to, Jasper Singh Ray, Cartar 147 LLC. So you might see that reference. Subject, Brownfield reimbursement authorization, former Berenstain Candy Company site. That likely is going to be the name of the Brownfield plan, so you might see it referenced as former Berenstain Candy Company. Then in the body of the paragraph, I tried to add even more detail. This is subject to Chapter 25 of the Comprehensive Brownfield Plan, so that gives you a little more frame of reference of what property we're talking about. We are also talking about the site address of 147 5th Street. We also have specific PID numbers associated with that. So if you look at each individual disbursement memo, and the one I'm on right now is on page 33, I tried to add a lot more detail so we'd know which property we're talking about. So this first section is what was captured in both the summer and the winter of 2025. So we are only reimbursing on actual tax increments that we have received. Okay, and then we talk about the disbursements. So if you go down to that bottom section, the very first thing is they had $200,000 approved in eligible costs. So at some point in time, this board reviewed, submitted receipts, invoices, and that was already approved. So it shows you exactly, summer 13, we started reimbursing, winter 13, and then if you look at the footnotes, it says exactly when each payment was made. So what we're talking about within this memorandum is the reimbursement of, we're retaining $692.54 in admin capture. We didn't always spell that out. I think it's a good idea for transparency to note that. And then we have $6232.83 going to the developer. So every single, what's that? 33.
Actually, I'm sorry, 34 is where, the top of 34 is where he was reading.
Oh, I was reading in 33, but maybe it's in a couple different places. I was reading the sentence, the total amount of disbursement authorized, which is in page 33. Also, if you look at your agenda packet under new business 1, it has every single one itemized here. But I wanted to go in detail with at least one of the memos, because if we have specific questions, they're all set up the same.
And yes,
Ivy?
the specific question I had was about the $2,500 on the payables that is not, I didn't.
The Cornerstone Building, I think that's the development reimbursement. Hold on a second, let me find it.
On the.
I think it might be easier because Teresa was just reading the first one on here, Qatar 147. Were you planning on going down the line?
I was not planning on going over every single one in detail unless we need it, but there's a specific question about the Cornerstone Building. So if you could please turn to page 44. So I believe your question initially came about on the financial statements. You saw a line item for the Cornerstone Building. So essentially, any of these, every time we have a reimbursement agreement in place, your finance director will put a line item in your financial reporting so that she has a place to put it when reimbursements are made. It goes right to that project. Because again, when we get these tax increments, we have to spend them for reimbursement on that project where we receive the taxes. So she breaks it all out. So this one, the Cornerstone Building, is also referred to as the Renaissance Development Fund. It's also referred to as Chapter 6 of the Brownfield Plan. It's also referred to as the Landmark Hotel Project site. And it's also addressed as 70 West Main Street and 80 West Main Street. And I believe the address has since changed too. So this is how brownfield plans work. They are subject to a geographic area, regardless of what you call them, regardless if the address changes, if the tax ID name changes over time, it's subject to that geographic area. So that review is always done to make sure we are capturing on the right geographic area that's approved in the plan. It's pretty common for addresses to change, for parcels to be split or combined. So I tried to provide as much detail as we could because it gets confusing when these plans are approved 15 years ago and we're implementing them today. So I'm hoping this will be more useful for reference to have that additional detail.
So I have a quick question, and then I'll give it to Commissioner Adams. Is there not a way for us, when we're in this meeting and we're trying to remember all this stuff, to just call it the same thing or have one name? And it, because it just seems like a lot. You know, if I'm in a meeting for like the last 2 years and then, you know, it's, I don't know, parcel 10 and now it's parcel 300. it's a lot for me to try to remember all that. So I'm just wondering, could it be a standard name and then we have this long documentation of information where if we said, for example, parcel 300, and then all these details are here. I'm asking, it may not be possible, but it's a question.
Yes and no. A lot of this has been done historically, so for example, like annual reporting for MADC. However it was named in there, I can't change that, that is what it
I'm
is.
only talking about for our meeting, so we know what we're voting on, not for MEDC, not for any state reporting. I'm specifically asking for our meeting, is that something that could be done?
Right, so my recommendation is that we use the title name of the plan, although a plan, especially some of your plans, can be 12 city blocks, and you could have more than one developer. So that gets tricky. Also, if the finance director has already set it up, we can certainly decide moving forward, we only call it one thing, but in these disbursement memos, I want to have all of that, because we have to track the disbursements all the way back to 2013.
Thank you, Chair. I need clarity, because we're talking about this Cornerstone property, and I'm thinking that it's the building right here on the corner.
Yes.
Okay, for one,
It's I believe this specific one is a portion of that building.
okay, so why did we hear you break it down in so many different portions? Because it was only one that came before us that we gave $164,000 to for demolition that did not happen.
So this board over time has called it by 5 different names. I'm only, for clarity's sake, trying to include all of them by all the different documents so that we can be on the same page. Because I can tell you, it was extremely difficult for me. That first year I had to do annual reporting, and that's even why we're still doing some reimbursements from 2024. I wasn't sure what property was talking about. We're not going to give away tax increments over here to someone over here. So it's a little bit of a convoluted
I need clarity.
situation right now.
We have this one large property that started off as one development that has been broken down.
Are you talking about the Brownfield plan has been broken down?
Here, the Cornerstone property that we're talking about, that you were saying has been broken down into several different owners, or?
No, I was talking about a Brownfield. The way this board has approved Brownfield plans was large. That's what I was referencing.
Always did, everything that has come before us always had a name, and that's what she was really asking, just like Project T. It's
Right,
Project T.
and that's what all of these are, but it's gone by Renaissance Development Fund. I think that's the specific developer. The building has gone by Cornerstone Building. The name of the plan is Landmark Hotel Project Site.
Got away with it this time, because, okay.
I mean, all of these sites are like that.
I'm sorry?
If you look at all of these, a lot of them have several different names. It's a challenge of, 20 years of implementation. I think we could certainly come up with policies moving forward, but I can't change how it was referenced in the past.
All add a name, and it was basically the owner, like Jasper. We're aware that one of his properties was a gas station. We're aware that one is another gas station in several different locations, but separate, different developments. See, some people bang on me, just leave them, because I know too much, and it's not a whole lot that I forget. But something is really wrong with this picture, and I just smell, finger words, little guggery, but it's not on you, Teresa, not at all. I would like to touch base really on, we're gonna come back to that one, but, the one with the city, Fidelity building when we get there.
Okay, we can go to that one.
Okay. Which one is it?
Let me try and find it. I see, I don't have the page numbers on these here, so. Ramel Supply, it should be after that.
I don't know. Yes. So it's gonna be,
If someone finds the page, if you could shout it out.
Yeah, so we gotta find another these.
42? Yes, page 42.
It's 42.
So this is the Fidelity Building, the chapter of the Brownfield Plan. So this one, I think, was a standalone Brownfield Plan, so it wasn't one of your chapters. So again, I'm going off of historical data that we have.
Okay, well, I'm gonna go off of my historical memory, because as a previously residing commissioner and sitting on this board as well, which was why I felt like it was so important, because they complemented each other, so that we're working together, in correspondence of getting things done for the community. I've watched this money for the, were these all of the disbursements right here?
Yes, every single disbursement is in this memo, starting with summer of 2017.
Huh?
See the summary of disbursements on the bottom of page 42?
We've been dispersing,
Yes, since that time. So the approved eligible costs,
with this picture, and
The-
that's one of the reasons I've asked along the way for a specific audit, separate from the city of Benton Harbor, for this Brownfield Authority Board funds to be audited, and that has never happened.
you could request that if you want to hire and retain an auditing firm, but you already have that process, and so you're already in compliance through auditing through the city's
Several checks that
hire.
have come to the city from the Brownfield that need to be approved, and one was 175,000. Was it 100, I'm not saying it.
So the format of these memos has not changed for a number of years. I got these all from Mark Florian. All these, I didn't put in summer 17 capture. That was already in place. And just every year, I'm adding what the current one is and adding the current disbursement. So every year, you've seen the same document with all these disbursements, and it shows the accumulation of those.
Rhonda has them, and I'm going to be requesting them. Did this come from her?
No.
This come from, okay.
No, I prepared these. They're based on the templates that this board has used for years. All of this historical data, I did not recreate anything.
Okay, and I'm not saying that you did, but I just want to be clear that I have personally asked questions when 2 checks came before the city commissioners for approval for accounts payable, and I'm wondering why was the Brownfield giving the city of Benton Harbor those amounts of money, and what I was told was that it was money that was being held that needed to be released, but they couldn't find the receipts, and all of a sudden, then city manager, before 2018, 19, 16, 17, stated that they couldn't find the receipts.
Well, it does look like for this one specifically, they did a FOIA request.
But the state representative found a way for the money to be released. Something is wrong with that picture.
If you look down to the notes, this isn't standard. Standard, you have it in your records. But this is probably what you're recalling for this project. For whatever reason, they couldn't find those records. They actually did a FOIA request to the Michigan Economic Development Corporation and received those in 2017.
And that was supposed to be it, and we still signed the checks.
Well, because if there was 255,000, you don't get that much in tax increment every year. That's why these brownfield plans can be in place for 30 years. Because if there's 5,000, well, then this year you only get 5,000.
Okay, but hear me. I get what you're trying to explain, Teresa. This isn't on you, though. These monies were held year after year after year, and that's what caused those large amounts to be dispersed. And I'm not saying it.
I can't speak to anything that happened before I got here. I can only speak to trying to be in compliance with the funds that you have right now.
And thank you, Teresa. And Commissioner, if you have that record, if you brought it in, it might just be adding, well, no one else was here, though. None of us was here. We can't speak to 2017 when we weren't here.
I said we can move on.
Okay.
I'm gonna, don't worry.
Okay, so does anyone else have any other comments on, we have quite a few items to pay? I think there's none, so we can go ahead and get a motion.
So I do have a recommended motion that's kind of pretty specific because we have our regular disbursements. We have one project that is fully dispersed, so we have a notice of fulfilled disbursement, and then we have the transfer into the LBRF. So if you could take a look at that recommended motion.
Cleanup money right there.
So again, that LBRF is your account for you to support other projects. So that is really exciting when we see brownfield plans get to this point where the developer has been fully reimbursed, and now you are seeing an increase into, this is how you create a sustainable program.
And then, may I ask a question? Are all brownfield plans given a limit? Do they all have, like, for one here, we have a limit of $100,000 that we're gonna reimburse? Do all brownfield plans have a limit?
Yes, so it's however they're established when that plan is approved. And sometimes it could be restricted further in a reimbursement agreement. So for example, if your plan is 12 parcels and you've got a developer only on these 2, you might limit their reimbursement to a smaller amount than the whole plan. But yes, every project will have a specified limit of approved eligible activity expenses.
And is that in accordance with how much taxes capture each year? Is that what determines the length?
No, that's the length?
Yes.
Yes. So you have your approved eligible expenses. They only get reimbursed based on the actual tax increment you collect. So the length of time that they get dispersed for this amount, it depends on how much you collect. And then if you didn't collect enough, so let's say you approved 200,000, the plan runs out and you've only collected 100,000, that's all they get, because that's all the tax increment you have.
Any other questions? Does anyone want to make a motion to approve? You said it was unpaid.
Page 3 has the recommended motion.
I make a motion to approve the disbursement of $52,559.79 from 2024 and 2025 tax increment revenues collected as presented, to accept the notice of fulfilled disbursement for Blue Star 14 LLC, and to approve the transfer of $57,563.04 into the money market account as a deposit into the LBRF.
Correct.
And I second.
Perfect, so we can call the roll.
Robbins?
Yes.
Warren?
Yes.
Adams?
Yes.
Chandler?
Yes.
Kennard?
Yes.
Yates? Tony?
Yes.
Bennett?
Yes.
Motion carries 8-0.
Okay, so
So
now,
if anyone has to leave, we can sign the checks now that everything's been approved. Again, they need 2 signatures. Okay, perfect.
okay, so now we can move on to member comments, and we'll just go right down the line. I think Bennett, if you have any member comments, you get 3 minutes.
Sorry.
And anybody that don't use theirs,
Me.
you should be able to use theirs.
Okay, well, that's not a rule. She made that up. Okay, I'm sorry. Member Robbins has to leave, so if she could go first, I apologize.
Thank you. I'd like to just say thank you to everybody, and I appreciate everybody's dedication and enthusiasm on trying to help revitalize and rebuild Benton Harbor. I'm excited, I'm learning a lot, and there's a lot that I need to learn, but I'm reading up on a lot of good things, and I just like to say, let's keep it up and let's work together for the good.
Okay, thank you. If you want to go, Mr. Bennett.
No, I don't have any comments.
Okay, Mr. Tony.
No comments.
Okay, Mrs. Yates.
I have a comment. When we were saying something about us on the Brownfield Development Board having a place where we can have something done, as if I'm trying to say the property next to me cleaned up. That's all I just want to know.
So you're asking about if board members can bring a project forward? So, to my knowledge, you can unless it's listed in your bylaws that says you can't. So I will review that and report back next month.
Next up is Commissioner Kennard.
No comment.
Okay, next up is Member Ivy.
We are an arm of the city. I can hear our chair right now. And that's, we are part of the city's master plan and should be working together. But we have to consider too the sustainability of what they're coming and asking us for, I think. Or do we? Should we also consider?
We should.
Yeah, you know, and this trash problem is such it's an ongoing problem, and I think we should just do some brainstorming and try to come up with some things that may help. And I thought they had addressed it and resolved it, especially, I thought they had cameras in all these places. I remember being a part of the city, we purchased cameras to put around to catch people that were dumping, and I don't know what's happening, why this is not working. But let's brainstorm and come up with some ideas.
Thank you, Commissioner Adams.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm grateful. I'm grateful to have been a part of this authority that has been given and formed as an authority to act as an autonomous board to make decisions on its own development. Just as the library board, they do what they do. The downtown authority do what they do. The Dollar Ride Board, they do what they do. The city commission, they do what they do. The housing commission, it do what it does. And sometimes it don't. But everybody is not going to agree on everything all the time, but I think that we can get a lot done working together, but at no time does anybody else from any other arm of the city come. I mean, and of course we're going to work together, but we have ideas too. Some of us that have held on to things for a very long time, waiting for an opportunity. I've been a part of the city as an elected official, voting for something that I knew that we did not have an employee to take care of. Now, see, you have to sometimes make things make sense to me. When you're spending hundreds of thousands of dollars on machinery knowing that you don't have a body to operate it, okay? I'm done.
Thank you, Commissioner Adams. I wanted to use a portion of my 3 minutes to speak on the trash. So I'm a sitting commissioner, and what I can tell, someone said cameras, and that is correct. We do have cameras. So what I have been seeing, being someone who I've done several cleanups in my particular ward, the problem you run into is we can do 1,000 cleanups, and I've done them every single spring and summer. I have personally picked up paper and done cleanups, and most of the time, the residents who complain don't show up to help. What happens is I get so disheartened because the next spring, guess what? They have redumped in the same section that we have spent hours cleaning up. So, someone was saying, what's the solution? I wish I knew, but I think it has to be educating people not to dump. Because like I said, we can all get together Saturday and we can say, let's clean up, I don't know, this lot right here. But then, how are you going to feel in 7 months when you drive by that lot that looks pristine and it's been redumped on? And that's just what my personal experience have seen. So I do agree we need to figure something out. I wish I had the answer. It has to just be educating our I don't even want to say young people, because I don't know what age are the people that are doing all this dumping, but I don't know. But I do agree something has to be done. But the city does have cameras, but they don't have enough. They have a camera. So I know not far from where I live they had a camera up. And for a while it talks. So I don't know if you guys have seen it. When you get close, it'll talk. Yeah. It'll talk. So when that camera's there, it might not get dumped on, but guess what? The city now moves it to another location, and what happens there? They redump. So I do agree we need to have something done, but that's the challenge. The other piece I'll touch on is I know Commissioner Adams is very passionate about educating the youth and that kind of thing, and she had mentioned environmental careers. One thing I was able to work with Abby Marchon was on getting more of our youth interested in engineering and surveying. My thought is, with her saying she wants more of our young people to do environmental, is there a company locally in Benson Harbor that maybe could do a shadow program? Because that would be something where we wouldn't have to pay any money. And I know what Abinmark is doing is they're going to give our young people a stipend. I'm not saying it has to be a requirement, but it's something that could be talked about if there's a local company. And that is it. Thank you. Sorry, one more, and that's Teresa.
Yes, if I could just make one comment, I want to point out that next month's meeting is on July 9th. That is close to the July 4th holiday. So if any board members know they will be traveling or won't be here, if you know right now, you could speak up now. Otherwise, if you could please let me know at your earliest convenience. We want to make sure we have a quorum. That's all I have.
I will make a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
We got lots of support. 6:08. Thank you, everyone. You should be proud of all the discussion. I think a lot was accomplished here tonight.